Hey, it's Annie Grace. I hope you can hear me. I hope everybody's doing great. I am doing a reader's question today, and so I'm going to answer a reader's question. And before I forget, if you are curious about what life could be like with a bit less drinking, join us for the always free alcohol experiment at alcoholexperiment.com. And it's a free 30-day challenge, like resets your patterns. It's awesome. Every single day you get a video and an email from me. And so I've had a lot of people asking me about where's the best place to start with you and This Naked Mind, and it is at alcoholexperiment.com. to really get a taste of, the mindset shift that comes from This Naked Mind and looking at your own drinking and what you want to do with it, and without rules or without fear or anything. So anyway, let me know that everybody can hear me. And again, that is alcoholexperiment.com. And I'm going to jump in. Okay. So this is Annie Grace, and I'm answering today's reader's question, which is basically, why do I feel so incredibly confident now that I'm no longer drinking? Is that something in the brain or what's going on? So what a cool question. I love these super positive questions. It's usually, so many questions, rightfully so, are full of, what's going wrong, or what do I do about this, or how do I navigate this? And this is just such a positive one. So I love this. So first of all, here's a question. I've noticed that since I stopped drinking, I'm so much more confident. In fact, I'm not the defeatist person that I previously thought I was. Not drinking gives me that feeling of relaxation and confidence that I thought alcohol was giving to me. And it is indeed the most surprising of revelations, and I'm so grateful that I've discovered this. So why do we become so much more confident when we stop drinking? What's the science behind it? In your book, you say that alcohol chips away at our confidence. Does alcohol chip away at the very part of our brain responsible for confidence? Or is this simply the sense of achievement that sends our confidence skyrocketing when we finally quit because we've done something we previously thought was insurmountable? Thank you so much for everything. So this is such a great question again. And I actually think that this is much more of I think it's a fewfold. First of all, physically, you just start to feel better over time. And one of the main things that happens in the body is that over time, I'd say 3, maybe 4 weeks, sometimes as little as 1 or 2 weeks, you start sleeping really deeply again. Alcohol blocks your ability for REM sleep. And so when you're sleeping better, everything looks better. I've got a 3-year-old. All you have to do is look at a 3-year-old who didn't get a nap or didn't get enough sleep overnight, and the whole world is falling apart all day long, and everything is a trigger. And then you look at a 3-year-old who got a lot of sleep, and she's making music videos with her brothers and singing and dancing her heart out and just loving life and not even worrying about anything. And I think that, really, I know it sounds oversimplified, but I do think that sleep itself and our ability to get really restful sleep plays a huge part in our self-esteem and our confidence and how we feel about ourselves and how we feel about the world on a regular basis. So that's one just very simple, but I think very true explanation. I think that another very true thing, and I experience this as well, and many people do, is for me, I'd been trying to do things for a long time. I'd been wanting to come up with, an exercise routine, and I'd been wanting to start a mindfulness practice, and I'd been wanting to eat better, and I've been wanting to do all of these things. And when I stopped drinking, I like to say that drinking was that one big domino. It started the chain reaction of all these other things that I'd been wanting to do, and I'd done them in fits and starts, but I hadn't really been able to commit because, I could go for a run or I could pour a bottle of wine. It always seemed like maybe pouring the bottle of wine was easier, so why not do that? Might as well do that. Things like that. Then suddenly I was not drinking, and those things became not only easier, but they became more enjoyable, and they became things that I actually wanted to do. And here's the thing, when you want to do something, how easy is it to make it a habit? It is so easy when you want to do something. And so when you enjoy something like going outside for a walk or mindfulness, which before I might have enjoyed it, but I would also have this part of my brain like, okay, but I want to get home because I'm looking forward to that, getting into that bottle of wine or whatever. That was gone. And so I think I started to do a lot of the things that I'd hoped that I would do in my life. So that may or may not be true for you. I think the number one reason, though, that we feel so much more confidence is because we realize that all of the things that we thought alcohol was doing for us, we're actually doing for ourselves. Oh man, did this happen for me in so many areas of our lives. I mean, I literally imagined, I always wanted to write a book, and I imagined myself being like the tortured author with the, glass of wine and late nights, and like I just imagined that creativity came from this glass of wine, right? But I tried, oh my gosh, had I tried to write different stories and different short stories, and I had a few things kind of published here and there very minimally in little writing groups and whatever, but I'd like not actually been able to write anything. But I was sure that it was the alcohol that was really fueling any creativity I was having. And then I stopped drinking, and guess what? I wrote a book. It was like, oh my gosh, that ability was in me the whole time. And not only was it not the alcohol that I was attributing that ability, it was the lack of alcohol that, like, alcohol was holding me back from the truth of my ability in that regard. The same was true for conversation. Conversation and social anxiety was something that I was so certain I needed alcohol to engage in really effectively. And I was so certain that I was better at, networking a few drinks in. I was just positive about this, you guys, like positive. And then when I stopped drinking, guess what I had to do? I remember after I stopped drinking, I was still working at my corporate job. I was in Brazil, I was in Dubai, I was in the UK, I was in Paris, I was all of these places, meeting all these brand new people, having to network in all sorts of scenarios and situations, and traveling around the world, and without a drink. Guess what I had to do? I had to actually do it without drinking. And guess what happened? I was better at it than I was when I was drinking. I would go into it and be like, okay, I would put a little intention behind it. And I'd be like, all right, I know people love to talk about themselves. I'm going to be the most curious person in the room tonight. That's my goal. Guess what? When you're the most curious person in the room and you're asking a lot of other people questions, you also become the most popular person in the room. When you go deep with one person and you really start to learn something new about their life, sometimes I would do that. I'm like, I'm going to walk out of this room. I'm going to learn something really important about 3 people, like really important, like things that they might not just tell, their neighbor. And you do stuff like that, you listen with that level of intentionality, you become so good at networking, at being social, at, creating friends, at making connections. It's amazing. And so all of these things that I was so certain that alcohol did, how much does that destroy your confidence, by the way, the belief that I'm not really that good at this, but if I have a glass of wine, I'm really good at it. You're literally repeatedly telling yourself, it's not me that's valuable or important or worthwhile until I have this external substance. You're repeating to yourself over and over and over that it's not me, it's this. This is the thing that makes me better or who I am. And when you bust that myth, which comes from not drinking, of course your confidence skyrockets. It's so beautiful. It was so beautiful for me to over and over realize that the things that I thought was making me, the good networker, the social person, outgoing, actually was inside me. It was so amazing. And everybody's journey will be different on this. And for some people, it may take a little bit longer to develop these skills because, they're skills. They take intention. You have to intentionally build skills of, overcoming social anxiety and being present in a room of strangers. Or you have to build skills of writing. Who knew? But no, you do. You actually have to write a lot to become a good writer. You have to build the skill. And alcohol, by its nature, meant that I was only writing in fits and starts because then I'd get too drunk or too distracted to keep going. But when I wasn't, guess what? I could sit down and write for 4 or 6 hours at a time. And that was a whole different level, and my skill increased. And then I realized, it wasn't this thing, this fermented liquid in a glass. It was actually always inside me. It just took the intention and the skill to do it and stay present for it. And so that's really true. So if you are curious, if you're listening to this, if you're watching this and you're curious about a life without alcohol or a life with a bit less alcohol, please join us. It's absolutely free. alcoholexperiment.com. I would love to see you there. And thank you so much for such a great question. I absolutely love it. Like, why do I feel so incredibly confident? Why is my confidence skyrocketing without alcohol? There's definitely some science to it, definitely some physiology, but I think a lot of it is just the pure knowledge that everything you thought alcohol did for you is actually just inside you already. What a cool thing is that?